been on this show calling out adults to stand up for girls' sports, calling on coaches and parents to just speak simple truths about the fact that it makes no sense to allow biological boys and men to participate against biological girls and women. Well, a coach in Oregon did just that. He spoke out. He tried to push for change, and now he's out of a job. Let's talk about it in our segment, Unbelievable. Boop. All right, so you guys know there were a couple high-profile races where biological boys in high school track beat biological girls because they're bigger, faster, stronger. Not a surprise there. A state champion in Washington track was a biological boy, and before that, a state champion in Oregon track and field named Aiden Gallagher, biological boy, won the 200-meter race at the state championship in Eugene. Here's the video. And people booed. And I would have probably been, I hate to boo a kid, but I would have been booing under my breath. Like, that's ridiculous, right? You just saw the pickup at the end there. So that is because boys are different than girls. So after that, John Parks, who's the head of track and field at Lake Oswego High School in Oregon, he said, I'm going to say something about it. I'm going to stick up for girls athletes. I'm going to try to get the Oregon State Legislature to make changes, to do something about this. And now, according to KATU and this report, he has lost his job.
I'm going to fight now because I got wronged. I went in this thing and I was fighting for girls. I'm fighting for female sports, and I'm fighting that it be fair for everybody.
At the state track and field championships last month, John Parks says he witnessed the crowd boo a transgender athlete after they won a girls' event. At the time, Parks was the coach at Lake Oswego High School and had written letters to the OSAA and a state senator advocating for something else.
Are you hoping to have transgender athletes excluded in any way from high school athletic competition?
No, I want it transformed. Sorry to use the pun there, but I want it transformed into a situation where they have a separate division, may it be, we call it open, or allow them to compete as junior varsity athletes. But when you come to championship events, these things involve scholarships, they involve things that they have an unfair advantage in at the highest level when it comes to physical things. We're not talking about political. This is not a political issue to me. It never has been.
Those letters, he says, led to his termination. On Wednesday, Parks says the district ended his contract because of what he wrote, despite the fact that he says administrators knew what he was doing before he sent those letters.
I'm being prevented from speaking by writing a letter and not getting any guidance on this ahead of time, and being told that the letter was okay. It just makes no sense.
The district declining to comment on his termination, saying they do not discuss personnel matters.
Yeah, it makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. You're right, John. It's not a political issue. And again, this coach, John Parks, you might have lost your job, but what you were doing is so much more important than that. It might not be hard to see in the moment. I know anyone who speaks out and loses their job or puts so much on the line, I have a lot of respect for, but you lost your job, but you kept your dignity. You kept your morality in the process, and you did what so many other coaches should be doing, but for fear of the consequences are not doing. And I'll tell you, it would take a handful of coaches in a state and in a district to do that and to make significant change. To say we're not competing, or for athletes to say I'm not competing, for parents to say my child's not competing until this is fixed. It really would not take as many people as you may think to push back. The fact that a coach, someone who that's his job, to coach young girls in track and field, that he can't even put his concerns in a letter to just spell them out and say, here are my issues. Is there anything we can do? Not hateful, not demeaning, not demanding, saying, hey, what are options available to us to respect transgender athletes, but to also acknowledge the biological differences and that it is not fair to allow female athletes to get absolutely smoked. So the fact that you lose your job over that, I can tell you then that's not a job worth having. That's not a school district that's worth working for. But for anyone, for parents of athletes, for athletes. I know it's hard to ask it of you because, as John Park said in that news report, you're talking about potentially scholarships on the line, etc. For coaches, for anyone who understands that this is wrong, don't let John Parks speak up alone. Don't let him stand up alone. You know, we've seen parents here and there. We had Brendan, whose daughter lost in the Junior Olympics track meet in Kashmir to a biological boy who I could tell he didn't want to speak out about it, but he did anyway. And I know that family has dealt with a lot of hate after that, speaking out about things. It takes a lot of courage. And what you're doing might be hard in the moment, but it's going to be very, very important in the long term to try to restore sanity to this state, to states like ours and Oregon and California, and to the rest of the country. So we give a round of applause to John Parks for doing what's right, not for himself, but for the young girls who he coaches. He did the right thing, and shame on that school for letting him go.